This is W5SC repeater, PL110.9. When is Skynet?
I don't know.
Does Charlie know?
Always 9 p.m. Saturday on 146.88. Duh.
Starting Skynet in about 2 minutes. So if anybody needs to use the repeater, please go ahead until we start the net. This is N5BB.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike. November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Testing, testing, testing. November Tango 5, Tango Mike. Okay, I think that's about as good as it's going to get. NT5TM.
It sounds great, Tony. N5BB. Okay, very good. Just trying to make sure it would work for everybody else before Skynet started. NT5TM.
Mr. Chairman, I need to make myself very clear. If we uplink now, Skynet will be in control of your military.
But you'll be in control of Skynet, right?
That is correct, sir.
Skynet.
Good evening. time is 9 p.m.
Righty. Does anybody need to use their repeater before we start Skynet? This is N5BB, net control. BB, my name is Bill. I'll be your net control for this session of the Dallas Amateur Radio Club's Skynet. Skynet is a weekly net called every Saturday night at 9 p.m. concerning a subject of astronomy and space. Our purpose is to help amateurs become more familiar with the nighttime and daytime sky, astronomy, and space in general. This net is open to all amateurs interested in this topic. We encourage your participation, your comments, and your suggestions for this net. Agents of priority or emergency traffic may enter the net at any time using a prosign break and your call sign. This is a directed net. Please do not transmit without direction from net control in 5BB. Stations are reminded to identify at the end of your transmissions. This weekly net operates on 146.88 megahertz with a PL tone of 110.9. Check-ins via Echolink are also possible using a W5FC-R station ID or Echolink node 37247. And I am monitoring Echolink, so if you type something over there and I happen to look at it, I will see it. We'll do Echolink check-ins after the RF check-ins in just a few minutes. Tonight's topics, astronomy charts, pictures, and live audio-video links are available online. Go to www.w5fc.org right now for the complete list. Remember to tell others about this popular net. This is N5BB, Skynet in progress. You can now check into the net electronically, going to the club website, w5fc.org. Look for tonight's announcement and click on the hot link to check in. We'll acknowledge you on the air, and don't worry if you want to check in via voice. You can also do that, or you can check in on Echolink. And Chaz, yes, I am looking. I can see you, Chaz. You don't realize it, but Bob the Cat is my spy. He tells me what's going on in Echolink. And currently, I would like to acknowledge the following people who have already checked in over on the website. Tom, KE5ICX, he has run away from us up here. We scared him away, and he is down in Corpus Christi now. And Bill, W5BLT in Garland. Chaz with Bob the Cat running shotgun at KF5JHA, and he's actually in Mesquite, although he won't admit it. Cody, K5MCD in Dallas. Brenda, WB5OZL in Dallas, who I've seen at 2 events this week. I'm getting ready to see her at another event tomorrow. Oh boy. Randy, KE5JIT in Corpus Christi, who also ran down there. We scared him away. Dale, N5LIG in Little Elm. Robert, A5AH in Richardson. And Tony, NT5TM in Bird City, Dallas, who have gotten the Echolink working. Thank you very much, Tony. And we also have Travis, KF5PGM, who is the new 2025 president of the Dallas Amateur Radio Club and a very hard worker who helps with everything. Travis is in McKinney. Okay, what's next? This is N5BB. Skynet. All amateur operators are welcome. You do not need to be a member of any amateur radio club to participate. The net's 90 minutes long, structured in several parts. General announcements. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas, National Space Society, recent astronomical discoveries, the discussion topic of the evening by the Net Control, Was Up by Chaz, Space Explorations, and Space History by Brenda and Kelly, Constellation of the Week by Chaz, Space Launches of the Week, Tom, Visible satellite passages over the next couple of days by Tom if we have time. All amateurs licensed to transmit on this frequency are invited to check in. Okay, so I told you who was already checked in, and I also want to check in Rich, AG 5 p.m. in Rockwall. If you wonder how I'm checking these people in, go to w5fc.org, and up where it talks about Skynet, you'll see the link so you can check in yourself remotely. Or you can do so here on RF in just a moment. Okay, now let's start with short-time check-ins. If you can't stay very long, and then please check in now. Do so with your call sign, your name, and your location. Short-time check. Somebody blipped the repeater, but I heard nothing more. Are there any short-time check-ins to Skynet? If so, please come now.
N5TLH, short time, I'm running mobile and on Echolink, so I'm just going to be monitoring N5TLH back to net.
We gotcha. N5TLH, Will, who's normally down on the south side of Dallas County. Thank you very much there, Will, for checking into our little net here. Okay, any other short-time check-ins? Good. Let's now go over general RF check-ins. If you'd like to check in on RF, please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. This is Skynet and 5BB Net Control, looking for RF check-ins.
This is Whiskey 5 Golf Uniform Sierra Gus, far northeast Dallas. This is Kilo Golf 5 Uniform Foxtrot Romeo, Jacob Mobile, Dallas, Texas. Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill Farmers Branch. This is Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Victor Lima, James and Carrollton.
Romeo, Dane in Denver, Colorado.
Okay, the station, now please pause. The station in Denver, you're probably using some voice over IP method that's not Echolink. There's a big delay, and we did not hear your call sign. So station in Denver, please start transmitting, wait about 5 seconds, and then give us your call sign and name. This is N5BB, Skynet.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Sierra Oscar Romeo. That's Dean in Denver.
Okay, KG5SOR. Was that Dane Delta Alpha November Echo? Was that the name? So, KG5SOR, I think it was Dane in Denver. We recognize you, also James, KG5WVL, Bill, KF5ZBL, Jacob, Jacob, KG5UFR, and Gus, W5GUS. Howdy, Gus. Okay, do we have any other RF check-ins for Echolink? This is N5BB.
Kilo Juliet 5, India Zulu Sierra.
KJ5IZS. Good evening. What's your name and location, please? IZS. Are you still there? Sounded like he was mobile. Okay, do we have any other RF check-ins to Skynet? This is N5BB, Net Control. Yeah, a very short net tonight. Let me see who else is over on Echolink. We already have Tom, Chaz, Bob the Cat, Brenda, Tony, Randy, me, Will. So I don't think there's anybody else on Echolink. So is there anybody via any mode that would like to check into Skynet? Now is the time. Please come now with your call sign, your name, and your location. It may be a very short net. We will see. Not many people on this evening. Although a lot of them are on via the sign-in form on the website. Remember, if you go to w5fc.org, look at the Skynet announcement up near the top or the middle of the page. It's easy to see. And click on the link there, and you can check in that way if you would like. You can also check in on RF. Okay, next, do we have any general announcements? This is everything related to amateur radio, astronomy, space, or something that's of general interest to licensed ham radio operators. If you have any general announcement items, please come now with your call sign only.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike.
I recognize NT5TM. Go ahead, Tony.
Well, thank you, everybody, for your patience. Hopefully, Echolink will continue to function. If it's not, please let me know, nt5pm at w5fc.org, or you could just send an email to info, and then if I don't respond, any club officer who knows how to reach me will send me a text or give me a phone call. So in fact, info at w5fc.org is probably a great way to let me know if something goes wrong, because the whole club team will gang up on me. We do have some fun stuff going on. Of course, this is Skynet, which is awesome. Then we're going to have the Afterglow movie discussion at 10:35 p.m. We'll be talking about the transatlantic tunnel from 1935. Is that awesome? I don't know. You can check into the net to find out. This Monday, we have the MCOM 101 net at 7 p.m. Since we're coming up on the Dallas Marathon, that might be a great place if you have any questions about how to get ready for that event. And speaking of that, they still need help. I still need to trade jobs with somebody, so I need more volunteers too. Please go to your favorite search engine, sign up for Dallas Marathon Comms. Yes, Dallas Marathon COMMS. The URL's too hard to give on the air. And sign up. They always need help. It takes more than 100 hams. Beginners will be paired up with somebody who has more experience. Anyway, this is NT5TM. Back to the net, and hope you have a great night.
Very good, Tony. Thank you very much. By the way, it was fun seeing everybody at the pizza party for the Dallas Amateur Radio Club on Tuesday night and the barbecue party on Thursday night. Lots of food this week with Dallas Amateur Radio Club. Okay, do we have any other announcements from anybody? This is N5BB Skynet. I'd like to say that the Irving Amateur Radio Club has its holiday party on Friday of this week at Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving, which is on Highway 183 across the highway from Irving Mall. And that holiday party will start at 6 p.m. So this is the Irving Amateur Radio Club holiday party on Friday of this coming week, 6 p.m. Spring Creek Barbecue. Okay. Next, we have various local AMSAT net, satellite-related net. There's a national AMSAT net on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time. It's on Echolink. You can look on Echolink for the groups AMSAT, asterisk, AMSAT, asterisk. Or go to www.amsatnet.com. There's also a local AMSAT net on Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. on this repeater, the 146.88 megahertz repeater. Tom, N5HYP is usually net control. Then every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.140 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9 and a positive offset, we have the DFW West net for AMSAT or satellite-related conversations. So if you're interested in learning about satellite things or talking to other people involved with satellites, you can listen on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. to this repeater, Wednesday night at 9 p.m. on the Arlington 147.14 megahertz repeater. The Dallas Amateur Radio Club has a lot of nets on Monday evenings. There's all kinds of things happening depending on the week. This will be, let me look at the calendar. Hold on. Yes, this will be the second Monday of the month. And so the one coming up is Emergency Communications, MCOM 101. Will be a Monday evening at 7 p.m. on this repeater. Then we have a lot of nets going on Saturdays. It's the night of nets. Every Saturday we have TechNet going on starting at 7 p.m., usually ending around 8. Everything ham radio related, mostly technical, but operating, news, SwapNet, etc. Then at 9 p.m. until 10:30, we have this net, Skynet, every Saturday evening. Everything about astronomy, space, and space exploration. Then at 10:30 p.m. p.m. on Saturday evening, we have Afterglow net. And Tony Ever also gave us an update on that. It's the Transatlantic Tunnel movie from 1935 this evening. Again, that'll be after this net, around 10:30. This is N5BB Skynet. And every evening at 6:30 p.m., we have the ARRL National Traffic System training net on this frequency. Usually goes through about 6:30 to 7 p.m. on the 146.88 repeater. At 9:30 p.m. every evening, the same net is on the Irving WA5CKF repeater at 146.72 megahertz. Everybody's welcome to check in. Just please listen and only check in at the appropriate time. There's also Races nets that are on usually the first and third Sunday evenings of the month. You can listen to them, but you have to be a Races member to check into them. There's also a Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting on the air that occurs normally on the first and third Sunday evenings of the month. Okay. I think we already talked about the Afterglow movie. Tony did. Does anybody have any questions about the Afterglow movie or anything else? If you do, please come now. This is N5BB Skynet. Also looking for additional check-ins. On the web sign-in form, I recognize Clay, N5OF in Mesquite, and on Antonio, AG5SG. Welcome, Clay and Antonio. Thanks for checking in here. Do we have any other check-ins? One more try. I don't see anybody else on Echolink. Any other check-ins via any mode? This is N5BB Skynet. We're finally getting to some meat of the net. The Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas. Chaz, KF5JHA, take it away. This is N5BB.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening, everyone. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. There is no Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas club meeting in December because of the holiday party, which is going on right now. It's also an awards banquet. January 24th, 2025 will be the next Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas club meeting. The meeting will be held at 7:30 p.m. in person at the University of Texas at Dallas. There's also a Zoom component as well. The featured speaker is going to be task member Max Corno. His topic is going to be orbital light pollution. I've experienced that with taking imaging and seeing all sorts of satellites going through my field of view. Now, Saturday night public observing sessions continue. Skynet was picked to be on Saturday nights, so there could be live reports from the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas public observing sessions on the first Saturday of the month, which would be tonight. Stargazing is held at Fairview, but two things interfered. The banquet and holiday party, and also tonight's stargazing was canceled due to clouds as well. Oh well, clouds and rain. Check the TASS website, texasastro.org, for up-to-date information and details about meetings and public observing stations. This is KF5JHA. Back to our net control. Bill, it's yours. N5BB.
Very good. Thank you, Chaz. Okay. Next, we have the National Space Society events. This is N5BB. I happen to be the Vice President and the Membership Directory for the National Space Society North Texas Chapter. You can reach me at space@byram.net. The National Space Society is a non-profit group which is based in the U.S., is interested in the exploration and development of space and the creation of a spacefaring civilization. The North Texas chapter of the National Space Society meets on the second Sunday afternoon of each month. The next meeting will be our yearly holiday party. It will be held tomorrow, Sunday, December the 8th, in the afternoon. This will be at my house in 5BB here in Irving, 1 block south of Highway 183 in MacArthur. Our speaker will be John Quinn, the CEO of Exos Aerospace. It's in the Caddo Mills, Greenville area, about an hour east of Dallas. John will give a presentation about the next plans of Exos Aerospace, which has been working on a suborbital rocket. Friday evening of each month, from 6 to 8 p.m., National Space Society, North Texas chapter, sponsors a social event called Space Rendezvous. Location is Cheddar's Restaurant, 700 West Highway 635 in Irving. This is near MacArthur in Irving, and Highway 635 in Irving. Anyone is welcome to attend and discuss human activities in space with us. No membership in any group is required. The next Space Rendezvous is 2 days after Christmas, on Friday, December the 22nd. Excuse me, Friday, December 27th. That's Friday, December 27 in Irving at 6 p.m. The local National Space Society chapter website is ntx.nss.org. Our group also has an active Facebook page. Just enter National Space Society of North Texas into the search box. If you have any questions about the National Space Society, please contact Bill in 5BB, that's November 5 Bravo, at his QRZ listed email address or at space@byram.net. Remember, our big holiday space party is tomorrow afternoon at my house, starting at 1 p.m. and continuing to 6 with various events and lots of food, like barbecue. Okay, do we have any other check-ins via any mode? This is N5BB Skynet. I don't see anybody else on Echolink or on the web check-in. Next we have recent astronomical discoveries. Brenda, WB50ZL, can you tell us about how the universe's giant galaxies formed? This is N5BB Skynet.
Yes, indeed. This is WB50ZL. This article is from ScienceDaily.com, and it's entitled Astronomers Close to Solving Mystery of How Universe's Giant Galaxies Formed. Astronomers say they're close to solving an intergalactic mystery about the creation of the universe's biggest galaxies, which has puzzled experts for decades. Scientists have discovered the birth sites of gigantic elliptical galaxies, which they claim offer new clues about how they were formed. The creation of these ancient galaxies, which look like bulging footballs compared to our flat disk-like Milky Way, remains a mystery to astrophysicists. But now academics from the University of Southampton, working with experts across the world, say their new study may finally unravel the enigma. Dr. Anagrazia Publici from Southampton, who co-authored the research, said it is likely that large flows of cold gas and collisions between galaxies in the early universe created these giant systems. She added, two disk galaxies smashing together caused gas, the fuel from which stars are formed. to sink towards their center, generating trillions of new stars. These cosmic collisions happened some 8 to 12 billion years ago when the universe was in a much more active phase of its evolution. Our findings take us closer to solving a long-standing mystery in astronomy that will redefine our understanding of how galaxies were created in the early universe. The study, published in Nature, was a collaboration between Southampton, the Purple Mountain Observatory in China, and the Chinese Academy of Science, among others. Experts analyzed more than 100 star-forming galaxies in the distant universe using the world's largest radio telescope known as ALMA, located in Chile's Atacama Desert. The scientists made the discovery using a new technique which looked at the distribution of light emitted by distant and highly luminous galaxies, said study lead Dr. King Hua Tan from the Purple Mountain Observatory. She added, "This is the first real evidence that spheroids form directly through intense episodes of star formation located in the cores of distant galaxies. Astrophysicists have sought to understand this process for decades. These galaxies form quickly. Gas is sucked inwards to feed black holes and triggers bursts of stars, which are created at rates 10 to 100 times faster than our Milky Way. Researchers use open source A3 Cosmos and A3 GOODSS archival projects, which enable them to gather high-quality observations of many distant galaxies. The scientists say they will combine their findings. Stand by, let me reset. Okay, there, where was I? Lost my place. I am so sorry. Let's see, the scientists say will combine their findings with data taken from telescopes aboard the JWST and the Euclid satellites, as well as the Chinese space station, to map the stellar components of galaxies. Dr. Puglisi from Southampton added, "This will give us a more complete picture of early galaxy formation and deepen our understanding of how the universe has evolved since the beginning of time." All right, that's all I got. Back to net, WB5OZL.
Well, thank you, Brenda. Does anybody have any questions, comments, or do we have any additional check-ins? This is N5BB Skynet. Not see anybody additional on Echolink or on the web forum. So now it's time for the discussion topic of the evening. This is N5BB Net Control, Skynet. Lightning on Earth knocks killer electrons loose in orbit. High-energy electrons released by storms on Earth can threaten satellites and spacecraft. This is from Scientific American, December the 2nd. This little article is written, a short article is written by Kate Graham Shaw. And it references a technical study released in Nature Communications journal. Lightning strikes in the atmosphere can trigger a rain of high-powered killer electrons in low Earth orbit that form harmful streams of radiation, new research suggests. Scientists had previously thought killer electrons might appear only in our planet's distant outer radiation belt. But a study in Nature Communications finds that lightning nudges them loose in the much closer inner belt, too. These high-energy particles are damaging to spacecraft and also to humans in space, says study co-author Lauren Bloom, an astrophysicist at the University of Colorado Boulder. Knowing when there are very high energy electrons in the inner radiation belt would be helpful, so we know when to avoid it. This is in 5BB. Electron precipitation occurs when charged particles held in place by Earth's magnetic field or dislodged from status in one of the planet's donut-shaped radiation belts. Examining data from NASA's SAMPEX, that's SAMPEX mission, which tracked charged particles. The new study's lead author, Max Feinland, who is then an undergraduate student at Boulder, noticed something strange in the readings on microbursts. Quick surges of high-energy electron precipitation recorded between 1996 and 2006. After designing an algorithm to find these spikes in the data, Feinland was surprised to see readings from the inner radiation belt, which many scientists thought hosted only less energetic, slower electrons. Feinland and Bloom, who is then Feinland's research advisor, immediately began wondering about potential causes. People knew that there was lightning-induced electron precipitation in the inner belt, Feinland says, but they hadn't conclusively seen it for electrons that are going this fast. This is in 5BB, Skynet in progress. Comparing their microburst data with National Lightning Detection Network datasets, the researchers found statistical likelihood that bursts in the inner belt indeed coincide with lightning flashes. Electromagnetic waves unleashed by the latter travel up Earth's magnetic field lines from the atmosphere into the region of the inner radiation belt, where their energy is enough to knock high-energy electrons out of their magnetic confinement. The team's findings are compelling because has made such a link before, says space weather scientist Stephen Morley of Los Alamos National Laboratory. This area of research has data constraints, he adds, because there have been few measurements since SAMPEX ended 2 decades ago. But he says the study is very exciting, even though it's very data limited. It really does open up a lot of other questions. These findings are a wake-up call for how weather on Earth and in space are intertwined, Bloom says. This connection could potentially have consequences for the ozone layer, atmospheric chemistry, and even climate. We can't just study sun to Earth and radiation belt dynamics separately, she says. We have to understand what's going on below in our own atmosphere and terrestrial weather systems too. This is in 5BB, Skynet in progress. I'm going to read a little bit from the paper that was mentioned. This paper was released in Nature Communications online magazine, and the title of the paper is Lightning-Induced Relativistic Electron Precipitation from the Inner Radiation Belt. And the Earth's radiation belts are maintained by a number of acceleration, loss, and transport mechanisms, and the electron fluxes at any given time are highly variable. Microbursts, which are rapid at sub-second burst or energetic electrons entering the atmosphere from the magnetosphere, are one of the key loss mechanisms controlling radiation belt fluxes. Such rapid bursts are typically observed from the outer radiation belt and driven by interactions with Whistler mode chorus waves. But they can also occur in the inner belt and slot region, driven by lightning-induced Whistlers. By the way, Whistler mode is when particles are they're traveling around magnetic flux lines. So it's kind of a helical mode of travel, going around the magnetic flux line and going down it. Anyway, this lightning-induced electron precipitation is typically observed at up to 100 of kiloelectron volts. But in this paper, they present direct observations of this phenomenon at megavolt energies. It's million electron volt energies. That's the energy of an electron when you accelerate it with 1 million volts. This entails a coupling between near-Earth processes such as lightning and radiation belt processes such as relativistic electron microburst, bridging the gap between Earth weather and space weather. The Earth is surrounded by toroids of trapped energetic particles known as the radiation belts. These belts are contained within and shaped by the magnetosphere from the Earth's magnetic field. And this provides protection from the incident solar wind from the sun, and it shields the Earth from the sun. The radiation belts, which are one of the first discoveries of the space age, consist of two main regions, the inner belt and the outer belt. The outer belt contains very energetic electrons on the order of millions of electron volts. The inner belt, typically less energetic electrons on the order of up to hundreds of thousands of electron volts, as well as protons with energies several mega electron volts up to giga electron volts. Of course, protons are very heavy, so you don't have to get them going near as fast for them to have lots of energy. The upper energy limit of electrons in the inner radiation belt is a point of much recent debate. As measurements during solar cycle number 24 have shown, there was no significant million electron volt electron flux in the inner belt from 2012 to 2015. Strong geomagnetic disturbances are needed to temporarily populate this region. Anyway, I'm not going to read the rest of this. It's a long technical article with a lot of events, a lot of data showing the locations of the events. The location of the events they measured, some of them were over the continental United States, like Texas and maybe Georgia. And then they had a large number of other events that were near the southern tip of South America and the southern tip of Africa. These are areas which, of course, the ones down I just described are closer to the South Pole, magnetic pole. Let me see if there's anything else to report here. This is N5BB Skynet. I think that's about it. So, more examples of solar weather, space weather near the Earth, and weather actually on the Earth, like thunderstorms, all being coupled. Okay, that's all I have. This is N5BB, Skynet in progress, looking for additional check-ins. I see no more on the web or on Echolink. Do we have any other check-ins via any mode? This is Skynet. Jay, KG5BZW on Echolink. Jay, you want to check in on voice?
This is KG5BZW.
Good. Jay is normally near Weatherford. Thank you, Jay. Okay. Again, any other check-ins? Time for Chaz again. Chaz? What's up? This is N5BB, Skynet in progress. Yes. Hello, Chaz. Paging Chaz. KF5GHA. This is N5BB. Time for What's Up. Chaz must be away from the radio. Maybe he's being distracted by Bill the Cat. Okay. Why don't we do space exploration and space history while we're waiting for Chaz? Brenda, WB50ZL. What's going on with space exploration news? Brenda, this is N5BB, Skynet.
Alrighty, we can suffer here a bit. That's no problem. This is WB50ZL. Here's news. If you're looking for a fun trip these holidays, consider Galaxy Lights at Space Center Houston. This space-themed light exhibit runs through January 5th. Admission includes Space Center Houston exhibits. Unfortunately, the Starship Gallery, which houses the Apollo 17 command module, will be closed for this event. Go to spacecenter.org for more information. Next, NASA delays the Artemis moon missions once again. NASA announced it's delaying Artemis 2 and 3 missions meant to take American astronauts back to the moon because of a problem with the capsule's heat shield. Artemis 2, a mission to take astronauts around the moon, was moved from September 2025 of April to April of 2026. Artemis 3 would land astronauts on the south pole of the moon and likely won't happen until mid-2027, NASA said. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson just says space is hard. We've heard that before. NASA decided to launch of Artemis 2 because they found cracks in the heat shield after the Artemis 1 mission of 2022. Artemis 1 flew around the moon with no astronauts on board. Nelson said NASA found the root cause of the cracks in the heat shield and is comfortable that they found a path forward. Nelson also emphasized the new timeline would put astronauts on the moon well before 2030, when China would like to land on the moon. Next, Aerospace installs a second telescope to enhance space traffic monitoring. Portuguese space traffic management startup Aerospace has installed a second optical telescope to help track low Earth orbit, LEO, objects across both hemispheres. Aerospace said December 6th it had activated a telescope in Chile to scan the southern hemisphere for objects as small as 10 centimeters, 3 months after setting up a similar telescope at a Portuguese Air Force base in Beja, Portugal, in the northern hemisphere. The European Commission funded the telescopes as part of Portugal's €25 million recovery and resilience plan. Demos, which was recently sold to Spanish defense contractor Indra, supplied the telescopes. Aerospace plans to pool data from its own infrastructure with data gathered from public sources and partnerships with other ground telescope providers. Stand by while I reset. satellite operators. The 40-year-old venture's software platform uses artificial intelligence to provide real-time satellite position information to improve operations in space, including collision avoidance maneuver guidance. According to Neurospace CEO Chiara Manfredi, the newly installed telescopes can capture data roughly every second, helping reduce positional error uncertainty to less than 100 meters during a single orbital revolution. Birthdays. Terry W. Virts, December 1st, 1967, flew on STS-130 and Soyuz TMA-15M Expedition 4243. Stephen Swanson, December 3rd, 1960, STS-117 and 119, and Soyuz TMA-12 Expedition 3940. Ronald M. Sega, December 4th, 1952, STS-60 and 76. Bruce E. Melnick, December 5th, 1949, STS-41 and 49. Rob Coolin, December 7th, 1983. He did not have any flights. Matthew Dominic, December 7th, 1981. SpaceX Crew 8, Expedition 77 and 72. Next up, this week in space history. We've got a twofer here on December 4th. On this day in space history, two big launches. Gemini 7 launched aboard a Titan II in 1965, while STS-88 Endeavour launched in 1998. Gemini 7 was the first long-duration spaceflight and rendezvoused with Gemini 6, while STS-88 saw the U.S. and Russian sections of the International Space Station joined in low Earth orbit. You can view Gemini 7 as making the ISS possible decades later. Also on December 4th in 1978, Pioneer Venus orbiter entered an elliptical orbit around the mysterious clouded planet. Its radar altimeter allowed the spacecraft to map much of Venus's surface. And that is all I have. Back to net. This is WB5OZL.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Yes, it's interesting how things way back in the Gemini days were required for what later became other activities that turned into the International Space Station later. Okay, Chaz had some radio or power problems, but he should be back on the air. Chaz, what's up? This is N5BB, Skynet in progress.
Thanks, Bill. I hope it works this time. I think I hear myself over echoing. There you go. This is Chaz, KF5JHA. We call this segment of Skynet What's Up because it's all about what's going on, well, what's happened astronomically over the last couple of weeks and what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks to come. That's slide number 2. Slide number 3. We talked about the predicted nova of the star T Corona Borealis. It is currently at a brightness of about 10th magnitude, which is much too faint to see with just your two eyes. But when it goes nova, T Corona Borealis could become as bright as the North Star. I can see the North Star with just my two eyes from my very light polluted location in Mesquite. Slide master, slide number 4, please. Now this image of the sun was taken on Friday, December the 6th. That was yesterday with my ZWO Sea-Star. The large sunspot complexes on the sun are so large that at times you can use just your solar eclipse glasses to see them. The sun is near its 11-year solar maximum. I talked about the solar cycle on last week's Skynet. Slide master, slide number 5. Now speaking of the ZWO Sea-Star, I took this image of the comet C2023A3T Atlas on November the 20th while at Brookhaven campus of Dallas College. I was unable to spot the comet with binoculars and didn't even try it with a telescope. Slide master, slide number 6, please. New moon was December the 1st, so the current phase of the moon is a waxing crescent. The first quarter moon occurs tomorrow on December the 8th. On December the 12th, the moon is at perigee, which is the point the moon's orbit that is closest to the Earth at a distance of 365,361 kilometers. December the 15th, the moon is full. December the 22nd is the third quarter moon phase. On December 24th, that would be Christmas Eve, the moon will be at apogee, which is the point in the moon's orbit that is furthest from the Earth at a distance of 404,485 kilometers. Slide master, slide number 7, please. Now tonight, December the 7th, if it were clear, you can see the conjunction of the moon and the planet Saturn in the southwestern evening sky. Slide master, slide number 8. On December the 8th, that's tomorrow, the moon and the planet Neptune are in conjunction in the evening sky. You'll need a telescope to see the planet Neptune. Yep. Slide master, slide number 9. There are meteor showers that peak on the same night, 2 of them. The night of December the 8th and 9th, the peak of the Monocerid meteor shower could produce about half a dozen meteors in an hour or so. The Sigma Hydrides meteor shower could produce about a half a dozen meteors in an hour as well. Now, how do you tell which meteors go with what shower? By tracing their paths backwards to their origination, or what we call the radiant point. Now, the best time to observe meteors is usually the hour before dawn, because that's the side of the Earth that's running into the debris. If you want to get more information about meteors and meteor showers, you can visit the International Meteor Organization at IMO.net or the American Meteor Society at AMSmeteors.org. Slide master, slide number 10, please. December 12th is the conjunction of the moon and the planet Uranus in the evening sky, and the Pleiades are close by as well. Now, you'll need to have a pair of binoculars to find Uranus. You don't need a telescope. You could use one, but I've been able to see Uranus with just a pair of binoculars. Slide master, slide number 11. Another meteor shower on the night of December 13th, 14th is a Geminid meteor shower. Now, you can see up to 150 meteors in an hour. Once again, the best time to observe them is the hour before dawn. Slide master, slide number 12. On December the 14th, the moon and Jupiter are in conjunction in the west and northwestern morning sky. Slide master, slide number 13. If you haven't figured out, the latter part of the year is a good time to look for meteors. On the night of December the 15th, 16th, the peak of the Coma Bernicean meteor shower could produce a handful of meteors in an hour. The best time, once again, to see the meteors is the hour before dawn, because that's the side of the Earth that's running into the debris. Slide master, slide number 14. On December the 17th, the moon and the bright star Pollux, which is in the constellation of Gemini, are in conjunction in the western morning sky. Slide master, slide number 15. On December the 18th, the moon and Mars are in conjunction in the morning sky. Slide master, slide number 16. And another meteor shower on the night of December the 19th, 20th is the peak of the Leonid Minorids meteor shower. And again, it could produce a handful of meteors in an hour. If you'd like to get more information again, go to the International Meteor Organization, IMO.net, or the American Meteor Society at AMSmeteors.org. Slide master, slide number 17. On December the 20th, the moon and the bright star Regulus, that's in the constellation of Leo, are in conjunction in the morning sky. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide number 18.
Good evening. This
Thank you, Bill. You said I sound normal. Well, as normal as Jazz is. Do any of you out there in Radio Land have any questions or need a fill on any information? Or do you just have a general astronomy question? Come now with your call sign if you have a question or need a fill. Your opportunity. Slide Master, slide number 19. Says the moon waned last week, so do these words for this segment of Skynet. Stay safe, keep well, pray for our world. It's the only one where humans live, at least right now. And until next time, actually I'll be doing another segment on Skynet in a few moments. Keep looking up so you know what's up. And this is KF5JJ, back to our net control, N5BB. Bill, it's yours.
Very good, Chaz. I'll let you drink a little water or something before you start your next section. My Echolink timed out, so I missed. If anybody sent something to me in the last 3 or 4 minutes, I missed it. Do we have any other check-ins via any mode? I do not see anybody else on the web form. Does anybody else want to check in to Skynet? This is N5BB, net control.
Kilo Juliet 5, Golf November Foxtrot.
KJ5 GNF, N5BB. Good evening. Can you tell us your name and your location, please?
Good evening. My name is Brian, and I'm located in Tulsi, just outside of Terrell. KJ5GNF.
Very good there, Brian. You got a very good signal. Okay, are there any other check-ins?
November Victor 5, Foxtrot, Virginia, in Fort Worth.
NV5F. Hello, Virginia. I've seen you a few times this week also. Okay, anybody else? We got out of order because of Chaz's radio trouble. But now it's time for Chaz again. Chaz, tell us about the constellation of the week. This is N5BB, Skynet.
Well, once again, this is Chaz, KF5JHA. Slide Master, slide number 20. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week is named in honor of Silent Key Carolyn, KC50ZT. Carolyn contributed to Skynet each week, almost from its beginning in 2012 till May of 2019, with a detailed look at one particular constellation each week. Now, since there are about 52 easily visible constellations seen over Texas throughout the year out of the 88 total number of constellations, so Miss Carolyn covers the entire sky as seen over North Texas in a year. And in her honor, we've continued that tradition of a constellation per week and named this segment after her. Miss Carolyn's constellation of the week this week is actually a twofer. Aries the Ram and Triangulum the Triangle. They're next to each other in the sky. In mythology, Aries represents the ram, which is the source of the Golden Fleece. The Golden Fleece was central to the story of Jason and the Argonauts. I'm not going to go into that detail, but you can look it up if you want. The next slide, slide number 21, are the jokes of the week. Are new to Skynet, you can boo and hiss, or laugh, or ignore me for the jokes. So this is slide number 21. I wish I could figure out why a male sheep is called a ram. And then it hit me. Oh yeah, they're usually related to the constellation of the week, yeah, or constellations. Why did the ram run off the cliff? He didn't see the U-turn. Get it? User, well, never mind. What do you call it when a shepherd can't find his ram? You would call it memory loss, like with a computer RAM. A triangle says to a circle, you're pointless. What kind of a triangle is a tortilla chip? It's an isosceles triangle. If you build a triangle with sticks, would it be twigonometry? Oh no. This time of year, Chaz has a bonus round of jokes. Slide Master, slide number 22. It's getting closer to a holiday. So, how is the snow globe feeling this time of the year? Oh, it feels a little shaken. What did the snowman order at Wendy's? Well, a Frosty, of course. What did the icy road say to the truck? Do you want to go for a spin? What food do you get when you cross Frosty and a bear? That would be a burger. And finally, the last one. What did the big furry hat say to the warm woolly scarf? You hang around while I go on ahead. Oh, come on, that was funny. And this is KF5JJ. This is Skynet. Slide Master, slide number 23. The star Gamma Aries, its name originally, Arsmithon, I guess that's how you pronounce it, appears to have been lost to antiquity. Richard Allen notes that its possible connection between the Hebrew word Marthathan, which means ministers, but acknowledges that this connection may have been erroneous. William Taylor Alcott, in his book Star Lore, Myths, Legends, and Facts, notes that the star had been translated to the two attendants, which is in reference to the both beta and gamma stars being the two attendant stars of Hamel. It's a binary star, and one of the earliest examples to be discovered, being found as a double by Robert Hooke in 1664, while he was tracking a comet passing through Aries. The two stars are very close together, separated by only 7 arc seconds, but they can be split by a small telescope. Components A and B have almost equal magnitudes, with A being 4.52 and B being 4.58. Slide Master, slide number 24. NGC, which stands for General Catalog, 772 is a spiral galaxy and is listed as being about 98 million light years away. Dave Hutchinson, in an article, writes that he's been able to spot NGC 772 with a 4.5-inch reflector from a dark sky site. The Night Sky Observer's Guide, George Keppel and Glenn Sander, notes that NGC 772 is the brightest galaxy in Aries with a magnitude of 10.3. And that with an 8 to 10-inch telescope, it shows a small, bright core surrounded by a very faint, diffuse halo. Slide Master, slide number 25. NGC 972 is a spiral galaxy of magnitude 11.4. Dave Hutchinson writes, has found reports of this galaxy being made with a 4-inch refractor. He did not specify the call of NGC 972 as a challenge object, but he did make it a challenge of trying observing this galaxy with a small aperture telescope. A view of NGC 972 is often oblique. It's not an edge-on view, but it's fairly close to being edge-on, which makes it appear to David Hutchinson to be an elliptical galaxy. Slide Master, slide number 26. switch to the constellation of Triangulum. It's been known since ancient times. It's been known as Delaton to the ancient Greeks from its similarity to the Greek letter delta. It's similar in shape and also led to be associated with the river Nile. You know, the Nile Delta. Io Triangulum is a double star unable to be split at 42 power. At 81, it can be split, but the two stars are very close together. At 126 power, it's easy to split. The pair consists of a bright star and a fainter star. The fainter star looks bluish, and the brighter star is a golden color. 15 Triangulum is a double star, and it's easily split in a 50 millimeter finder scope. So it's definitely a binocular object. At 42 power, it's another Albireo wannabe with a yellowish, brighter component and a bluish green companion. Again, the color contrast was not as pronounced as Albireo itself. This is such an easy double that at 42 power, you can drive a Mack truck between the two stars of 15 Triangulum. Slide master, slide number 27. M33 was discovered by Charles Messier himself on August 25th, 1764. Vernon's Celestial Handbook calls it one of the notable discoveries of Messier. M33 is a type SC spiral galaxy, and being a member of the local group of galaxies, it is the closest galaxy of that type to the Earth. M33 is often called the Triangulum Galaxy or the Pinwheel Galaxy. It shares the name Pinwheel with Messier Object 101 in Ursa Major. Compared to M31, the Andromeda Galaxy, and to our own Milky Way galaxy, M33 is a relatively small spiral, being about 50 to 60,000 light years in diameter, compared to Andromeda's 150,000 light years in diameter, and the Milky Way's 100,000 light years in diameter. M33 and M31 are both roughly the same distance from the Earth, about 2.3 to 2.4 million light years away. Robert Burnham Jr. in his Celestial Handbook writes that it is interesting to note that M33 and M31 are only about 570,000 light years apart, 4 times closer than either our own Milky Way from either one of the other two. In fact, Stephen James Amira in his book, The Messier Objects, notes that M33 may be a satellite galaxy of M31, orbiting it as just the moon orbits the Earth. And this is KF5JJ, and this is Skynet. Slide master, slide number 28, please. I'm glad I'm close to the end. I've almost lost my voice. There's a few more Astronomical League observing program objects in the constellation of Aries to Ram and Triangulum the Triangle. I've given you a sampling of those objects. The Astronomical League has, at last count, 74 different observing programs, all of which have about 100 objects. Well, most of them do. If you observe just 10 different objects in an observing program each month, then you can earn an observing certificate and a pin from the Astronomical League in about a year. Slide master, slide number 29, and that is Miss Carolyn's Constellation of the Week. Actually, Constellations of the Week. Aries the Ram and Triangulum the Triangle. I want to thank my friends Dave Hutchinson and Dennis Harwell for the research and words on deep sky objects that I use, borrow, and steal for every Skynet. I also at times use the website constellation-guide.com for information. Then next week we'll take a look at another twofer, Pisces the Fishes and Cetus the Sea Monster. Cetus has a story behind it. We've talked about that before. We'll find that out next week. This is KF5JJ Jazz saying goodnight and 73. Back to our net control. Bill, it's all yours in 5BB.
Well, thank you, Chaz and Bob the Cat. Do we have I don't see any additional check-ins on the web form or on Echolink. Do we have any additional check-ins via any mode or any questions or comments? This is N5BB, Skynet.
This is
Whiskey, Bravo, 4, Mike, Foxtrot, India, WB4MFI, Ted, Dallas, Low Power. We got you, Ted. WB4MFI. I recognize. Anybody else? Okay, for the last sections of the net, we have Tom, K5ICX, with space launches for the week and the visible satellite passages. Tom, looks like we've got nearly 15 minutes, so we're running a little early. So do whatever you want to with those last two sections and go right ahead. K5ICX, take it away. This is N5BB, Skynet.
Well, thank you, Bill, and thank you for doing the net this evening. Yeah, we got plenty of time left, so I'll go through what I got. The first section here is space launches for the week. We have one coming up here in a couple of hours. This will be a Falcon 9 Starlink 12-5 mission. This will launch from SLC-40 at Cape Canaveral. Falcon 9 rocket will launch another batch of Starlink V2 mini satellites into low Earth orbit. A little more than 8 minutes after liftoff, the booster will land on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. December 12th, another Falcon 9 mission. This will be from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center. The Falcon 9 rocket will launch the fourth pair of O3B M-power satellites into a medium Earth orbit on behalf of Luxembourg-based SCS. A little more than 8 minutes after liftoff, the first stage will land on a drone ship positioned in the Atlantic Ocean. Then in December, it is December, silly me, 17th, 18th overnight will be an Electron launch. This will be Owl the Way Up. Owl the Way Up is the name of this mission. This is will be launched in New Zealand at 3 o'clock to 4:15 a.m. New Zealand time. The Launch Complex 1 at Mahia Peninsula in New Zealand is the launch site. The Electron rocket will launch an STRIX satellite for Synapspective, a Japanese Earth observation company, to continue building out its synthetic aperture radar SAR satellite constellation. This will be the sixth launch out of 16 booked from the Electron for the company. Then, to be determined, will be the New Glenn 1 launch from Launch Complex 36 at Cape Canaveral. The Blue Origin New Glenn rocket will launch the company's Blue Ring spacecraft, which is capable of both hosting and deploying multiple payloads. Blue Origin will attempt to land the first stage booster on its sea-based landing platform, Jacqueline. Then sometime in spring of 2025 will be a New Glenn Escapade launch. This is from Launch Complex 36. The Blue Origin New Glenn rocket will launch a pair of identical spacecraft on Escapade and Plasma Acceleration Dynamics Explorers, or Escapade, mission. The two satellites named Blue and Gold will make a roughly 11-month journey to Mars, so then they will perform what about an 11-month science mission while orbiting the red planet. Blue and Gold were manufactured by Rocket Lab over the last 3.5 years and carry science experiments from the University of California, Berkeley. This launch, the New Glenn rocket, will feature a landing attempt on its landing barge in the Atlantic Ocean. And lastly, I've mentioned this several times, but we hope it happens, is the Dream Chaser 1 mission from SLC-41. This is to be determined. It has slipped into 2025. A United Launch Alliance Vulcan Centaur rocket will launch on its second demonstration flight with Sierra Space's Dream Chaser cargo vehicle for the International Space Station. The Dream Chaser is a lifting body resupply spacecraft that will launch on top of a rocket and land on a runway. This will be Dream Chaser's first flight into space. The Vulcan Centaur rocket will fly in a VC-4L configuration with 4 GEM 63XL solid rocket boosters, a long-length payload fairing, and 2 RL-10 engines on the Centaur upper stage. Then after this, we have the next section, which is heavensabove.com. This is satellite passages over the next few days. We have the International Space Station that we'll start with. This will be on December 11th. Let me bring that up so I can tell you about it. Okay, the December 11th will be a minus 0.3 magnitude at 6:21 a.m. out of the south-southeast. It will reach its highest point at 6:23 at just 12 degrees, and it will fall to the east. 2 nights later, we have, or 2 days later, will be December 13th, minus 2.4 magnitude at 6:18 a.m. out of the south-southwest this time. It reaches its highest point at 42 degrees in the southeast, and it will fall to the east-northeast at 6:25. Then we have December 14th, a little bit more of the same action, minus 1.2 magnitude at 5:30 a.m. out of the south. It'll reach its highest point at 21 degrees at 5:33, and it'll fall to the east-northeast at 5:35. Then we have December 15th. This is a goodie. This is minus 3.6 magnitude, 6:18 in the morning. It reaches its highest point at 51 degrees at 6:20, and it will fall to the northeast at 6:24. And another good pass, December 16th, minus 2.7 magnitude at 5:32 a.m. This one is going to be coming out of shadow, though, at 5:32, and then it will fall to the northeast. Oh, that's at 41 degrees almost overhead. And at 5:35, it'll fall to the northeast, or I should say about a quarter of the way up in the sky. Okay, well, folks, oh wait, I've got one other thing here. We've got the Tiangong Space Station. So the Tiangong is currently occupied by 3 tachynauts in space, and is continuously manned with 4 modules currently now ganged together into a square formation. So the first good flyover is minus 0.6 magnitude at 6:18 a.m. out of the northwest. It reaches its highest point at 22 degrees at 6:19, and it'll fall 6:22 to the northeast. Next up is December 11th, minus 0.2 magnitude, 5:59 a.m. out of the north. Reaches its highest point at just 18 degrees at 5:59, and it'll fall to the northeast. Then we have December 12th, minus 0.2 as well. This one's kind of a ditto from the day before, 6:36 a.m. this time, out of the northwest. Reaches its highest point again at 18 degrees at 6:38. It'll fall to the northeast at 6:40. Then we have December 14th, minus 0.3 magnitude, 6:16 out of the north-northwest. It reaches its highest point 22 degrees. Are you bored yet? Plus, a lot of these are remarkably similar in orbital inclination 24 hours later. And it'll fall to the east-northeast at 6:20. We have December 15th. This one is minus 1.5 magnitude. This is a goodie. This will be at 6:53 a.m. out of the northwest. It reaches its highest point at 46 degrees at 6:56. It will fall to the east at 6:59. Then finally, one last one for you. I know the numbers are getting monotonous. Minus 0.9 magnitude, 5:57 a.m. out of the north at 28 degrees. Reaches its highest point at 30 degrees at 5:57, and it will fall to the east at 6 o'clock. So that's it, Bill. All this information is available at Heavens Above. This also has not just information on the satellites that are visible, but also amateur radio satellites that give you the overall passes, which, of course, for radio satellites you can do during the day as well. Check that out. You don't need any special programs to do it. Back to you, Bill. KE5ICX.
Very good, Tom. I don't see anybody else on Echolink or on the web check-in. So final call, would anybody like to check in to Skynet before we close the net? This is N5BB, net control. Anybody want to check in? I'll make it count. Assuming I didn't count anybody twice, which is possible. They checked in on RF and the web form. We had 25 check-ins this evening on the air in some way. Thank you very much for everybody that checked in to this episode of Skynet. We hope you'll... by the way, do we have any questions or comments before we close the net? Hope you will join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other Dallas Amateur Radio Club nets. If you'd like to try your hand, send an email to nets@w5fc.org or talk to a net controller. You can follow topics and discussion about this net, astronomy in general, on Facebook and X, if you like social media, things like that, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net or at any time afterward. Until next Saturday night, this is N5BB Bill. I'll be closing this net at 10:27 p.m. local time. Woohoo! We're slightly early. Returning the repeater to normal amateur use for a few minutes before we start Afterglow. Tom, do you want to talk about Afterglow? N5BB clear.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Bill. Thank you for doing the net this evening, this KE5ICX. You got 5 minutes? 5 minutes before we begin tonight's Afterglow movie net, which is an interesting movie from 1935. 1935. It is a science fiction type film called The Transatlantic Tunnel from 1935. So come back in about 5 minutes. You got enough time to make some microwave popcorn, bring it back, and we'll discuss the movie. We'll see you then.
Normal state.
completely operational and all my circuits are functioning perfectly.
Afterglow Movie Net.
I'm sorry, I forgot to put my microphone down. I had it in the top position. I wanted to use the repeater before we begin the Afterglow movie net. Alright, this is WV50ZL, and tonight's movie is Transatlantic Tunnel from 1935. And I'm going to read you Tom's very accurate synopsis. Mr. Lloyd was an industrialist. His vast fortune garnered from the kazoo business. Nearly every child in every country had one, and at a cost of only $1, Lloyd had made millions. But now he was hungry for his next venture. This came from a friend of his who he had met through his wife, a local Amway salesperson. Richard McGowan was an engineer, and Lloyd, knowing only the kazoo business, could be sucked into investing his millions in projects which didn't always make sense. This was one of them, building a tunnel from England to the United States. McGowan showed Lloyd the plans, and Lloyd, having only done full-scale kazoo blueprints, thought the tunnel would only be about 3 feet long and 5 inches wide. Lloyd was an idiot and with too much cash. Now, here's what it really says. It's called a tunnel in England, and it's a 1935 British science fiction film. And I'm not going to read the names of the stars because none of them ever worked again, apparently. It's based on the 1913 novel The Tunnel, about the building of a transatlantic tunnel between New York and London. The film, produced at a time when the threat of war loomed in Europe, emphasized international cooperation between the United States and the United Kingdom. The plot: a group of wealthy industrialists gather at the home of Mr. Lloyd, a millionaire who introduces them to Richard McGowan, the engineer who successfully spearheaded the construction of the Channel Tunnel. Now, the story takes place in an unspecified near future, though it is noted in the film that the Channel Tunnel is built in 1940, and the Bahamas-Miami Tunnel, which I wasn't aware that there was such a thing. McGowan informs the group that the alunite steel he developed, along with a radium drill developed by his friend Frederick Robbie Robbins, makes it possible to construct an undersea tunnel linking England with the United States. Though the group is initially skeptical, the backing of Lloyd and his associate Mostyn, because this is the group to buy shares in the project. 3 years into construction of the tunnel, McGowan is a worldwide celebrity, but his work keeps him from his devoted wife Ruth and their young son Jeffrey. Called away to New York, he's informed that the people are losing faith in the project. Lloyd needs to have him. Let me reset. Let's see. Lloyd needs to have him use his fame to get support. Lloyd's attractive daughter, Varlia, who is secretly in love with McGowan, keeps him company to intensify the attention of the press. The photos of the couple add to Ruth's sense of isolation, and she decides to work in the tunnel as a nurse. There she is affected by an unknown gas, afflicting the workers, and loses her eyesight. Worried that her husband no longer loves her and not wanting him to stay with her out of pity, Ruth leaves McGowan, taking their son with her. Heartbroken at her unexplained departure, McGowan throws himself into the project, alienating Robbins in the process. Years pass. Though the cost of the tunnel in lives and money continues to mount, the British Prime Minister and American President eagerly anticipate its completion and the unity and peace they promise it will bring. Ruth lives in the countryside with her now grown son, who lobbies Robbins to find him a job working in the tunnel. The tunnel is nearing completion, but the workers encounter a submarine volcano that will necessitate a detour. McAllen needs more money to establish a detour, but is opposed by Grelier, an arms manufacturer in Boston. The two men earlier manipulated the stock market to become the controlling shareholders in the company. Lloyd suspects that Grelier and Boston plan to use the delay to depress stock prices again, and this time gain local ownership of the tunnel. However, Barlia convinces Boston to fund further construction by promising him the one thing he's always wanted but never gotten, her hand in marriage. Though the project goes forward, Grelier has Boston killed for backing out of their deal. Despite the renewed effort, samples indicate the volcano may be too large to drill around. The drill breaks through the volcanic gases that kill hundreds of workers, including Jeffrey. The project seems on the verge of collapse. Determined to see the project through and fortified by the reappearance of Ruth, who came to the tunnel site to discover Jeffrey's fate. McAllen vows to continue. With 3 volunteers, McAllen and Robbins man the radium drill, and despite their near-fatal temperatures, break through the American side of the tunnel. Okay, that's just all very exciting. I hope everybody didn't run away. We're going to do check-ins now. We'll do general check-ins. Please come with your call sign, your name, and whether you saw this movie. Please come now.
Golf 5 Bravo Zulu Whiskey Jane or whatever. I saw a portion of it. I was hoping others. I just listened to the comments because the movie took me off.
November Victor 5 Foxtrot, Virginia in Fort Worth. Yes, I saw the movie, and man, it's bad when Jay is the first person who checks in V5S.
Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato, W5BLT Bill. I had to go back for a second bowl of chips since I dropped the first bowl. Yes, I saw this fine movie.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, Tom in Corpus. Yeah, I saw it too.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill and Irving. I've seen some of the movie. I'll at least go through the first go-around, but I may have to leave after that. And 5BB.
Okay, let me get these check-ins. We got KG5, Bravo Zulu Whiskey, Jay near Weatherford, who saw some of the movie. NV5. WB50ZL. I'm having trouble. Does anybody hear me?
I can hear you now, but it was cutting out at the beginning. W5BLT.
Thank you. Don't know what was wrong with it, but obviously technical difficulties. Okay, check-ins, KG5BZW, J, NV5F, Virginia. Jay saw some of the movie, Virginia saw it. W5BLT, Bill, he saw it. KE5ICX, Tom, he saw it. N5BB, Bill, he saw some of it. Okay, do we have any more check-ins from any mode, please?
Kilo Bravo 9, Sierra Kilo, Sean Fort Worth. Yes, I did see this movie.
Okay, we picked up KB9SOK, Sean. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about plots, and then characterization, and then special effects. So let's start with J, KG5BZW. What did you think about the plot?
Alright, this is KG5BZW. It just seems so melodramatic. I couldn't get over the fact. It was, and by that, I mean, it's like they said it, every single action after the initial bit, there always seems to be like needless drama. And what I mean by needless is like literally the way it was written, they introduced some aspect that would create drama in a way that I just found unnatural, and maybe it's part of the fact that we're talking about something made in the 1930s, and I did not understand the cultural significance of how people were, or well, maybe not. I may not understand the social norms and all that of things, and why why communication was so poor, and man, they were really treating that engineer like they weren't treating him like an employee, they were treating him a servant, like literal, we own you kind of crap, which I just, like, it doesn't fly. I find it hard to believe it would fly in 1930s either. The kid was annoying, the lack of communication, the reason for the lack of communication, or whatever, all did not, it just didn't fly with me, and it was like, I can't tell my husband that blah 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 because of the eyesight, I just don't understand that philosophy. I don't understand how it could have been written in the 1930s. I don't know how it could be written today. So, screw these guys. A lot of these people are just schmucks that deserve to be, an implosion until it occurred to them. And that's, it seems that happened to some people, I don't remember who, who it was now, but I did not like a lot of people. I did not like the investors. Of course, yeah, I know the it was just dumb freaking nonsense. KG5 ECW.
Alright. So, NV5F, Virginia, tell us what you thought about the plot, please.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. Well, it was a melodramatic plot. I do think that Jay hit on something that this movie was actually made almost 100 years ago, almost 90 years ago anyway, and the culture was kind of different. You know, the whole idea of a marriage and all that was much more concrete. It wasn't just, you know, sort of an optional thing to stay in your marriage, and so the drama was, I think, built around this driven guy who was running this tunnel project and you know, put his family second, and you know, that's still a common plot, but back then, you know, there was definitely some different thoughts on what the wife's options would be, and how, you know, crazy an idea it would be to say, oh, I'm leaving my husband. But the plot itself overall was kind of weird to me, because even by 1935, you think they would have thought, well, isn't making a movie about the future, trying to build a transatlantic tunnel in the future, so that would imply that this movie was maybe meant to be taking place in the late 20th century, maybe. And you'd think with the advent of air travel, even by 1935, that they would have thought, hey, isn't this kind of a dumb idea, like to assume that in the future they would want to do this, or to even make a movie about it? So I think just the whole idea of the plot was kind of lame-o, but you know, they've made pretty cool, you know, use of the tunnel under the English Channel, which is a much more viable project and is very useful still to this day. And so, hey, maybe they got the idea of that from this crazy story, but very predictable story, especially when when you see that, hey, this tunnel's taking a long, long time to build, and then the guy's kid grows up, and then as soon as the kid decides to get his attention and try to impress him by, you know, becoming one of the workers who works on the tunnel, and I guess, you know, it would kind of be like he wants to impress his dad and get to be around his dad, and also be there when the tunnel is completed, and maybe see a moment when his dad could finally be done with this thing and be his dad again. And as soon as his son did that, I knew exactly what was going to happen. So it was kind of a bitter, you know, it was definitely a bittersweet ending, because the tunnel, they stuck it out, got it done. The volcanic interference with the tunnel, you think that would continue even after the tunnel was finished, that they would still be having issues with that. But I guess once they got past it that one time, and all the whatever pocket of magma and gas exploded into the tunnel, maybe that was it, and it wasn't going to do it again. But I would say all in all, kind of boring. The exciting tunnel drama, you got a little bit of hint of that earlier in the movie, but in general, considering that this was a movie about making a tunnel under the Atlantic Ocean from America to the UK, it was kind of boring, and there wasn't a whole lot of exciting tunnel action. It was a lot of financial drama and marital drama, a little bit of relationship drama that never really went anywhere. So yeah, plot boring, idea lame, even for the time it was done, and I was just glad when it was over. NV5F.
Thank you, Virginia. Next, W5BLT. Bill, go ahead.
risk of having my Afterglow movie membership revoked. I like this movie. Now, I'm not saying it had the greatest plot, but it was different than some that I've seen before. And, you know, I probably liked it because it did have that Jules Verne's feel to it. And I was thinking that as I watched it at the time, and then I saw another reviewer had the same thought. I also liked it because I love history, and looking back when this film was made, a lot of people felt like there was going to be a war coming down the pike between, you know, France and Germany, and England and Germany, and America was going to have to get involved, and so there was that patriotism stuff, which I saw some criticism online for this movie for. But I like old movies, and it's probably no secret here. It gets a get-out-of-jail-free card from me, usually. Yes, I know the plot was hokey and trying to, you know, build something that far underneath the ocean, but it did make me think of the tunnel in the English Channel and just how that was done. And you know, something like this causes kids to dream of doing something when they're older. And I could imagine a child watching this in the 30s and then dreaming about what could be possible later on. And so in that respect, I liked it. I didn't think they did the blind thing very well with the wife. It was kind of weird because it was like didn't really go into the details of the trauma that would be, but obviously, you know, the marriage and her leaving, marriage was a different thing back then, but it did kind of capture that drama of the finances, the whole marriage dynamics, and sometimes men getting so, you know, or you know, a woman getting so engrossed in the job that they forget that there's a family at home waiting for them. And so, anyway, for those things, I liked this movie. It was a different thing than some of our other movies, and so it got a get-out-of-jail-free card from me. Back to net control, W5BLT.
Alright, thank you. Let's see. Next, K5ICX. Tom, tell us, what do you think?
Good evening. The time is 11 p.m.
It was kind of interesting in this sense. There was several things I'm going to tell about the movie, but while we were talking, I found an old New York Times article review of this movie from 1935. And I was reading it, and it reads very strangely. The English is somewhat run-on sentences, lots of prepositional phrases. It's done in a kind of an elegant way, even for the New York Times, and it's just a review. And I thought, well, that's 1935 for you. So deconstruct that and go back to the movie and understand these things. And I'm a little bit with Bill on that. I can see this film as being somewhat, it is endearing, it's interesting, it's a little different from what we've seen or what we normally watch, and the way it's presented is as a almost novel as a talkie. So the acting is overblown and very loud. Everybody's shouting at one another, and I think that's because they had to with microphones and technology that they had. Although by 35 it was starting to really come into its own, but I think there was left over from before that. The film also was very much influenced by Metropolis. I think that even though that was a silent film, it was only a few years earlier, but it has that sensibility about it, although I don't think it's as grandiose or as well crafted. Though I don't think it's all that bad either. I think that visually the movie looks decent, overall, considering what they had to work with. I love some of the tunnel sequences. The oversized models that they used were convincing. I thought that made a difference, and I guess we're getting into special effects. But with this film, they're trying to create a mood, a feeling of the future, at least the near future. And I think they were fairly successful at that. I think they did pretty well. As far as the plot is concerned, it goes into some of the things that would happen with manipulating and financing, and it reminded me of a class I took in college about long-term capital investments and how difficult they are to keep people all pointed in the same direction and working on projects for weeks, months, years. And I think that the movie missed on a couple of points, and here they are. I kidded about it when I wrote the little mini review about how large the tunnel is, and something like this is an incredibly difficult, if not impossible, and probably is impossible, and today it most definitely is impossible, but someday it would be. Maybe the technology is there that you can build a tunnel. But how long is it going to take, even if you do it? I mean, look at I-35 and how long it's taken to build that up, or Beltline Road. It's ridiculous. And then how do you maintain something like that that's thousands of miles long? I know that's not the point of the story, but it could have been. It could have been a part of that. And going back to the capital investment thing, why couldn't they take this and expand it over many years? They had the sun and getting involved in that, but I don't know. I don't sense a large passage of time to make this thing happen. And I think that this would be a project that could be a 100 years project, even under the best of circumstances. Let's say it's a 50-year project or a 40-year project. Then these people would get older. Nobody got older. Everybody stayed the same, which meant that the drama was also felt forced because this is happening almost in real time, which didn't make any sense. But the public waning and losing interest and the fact that they have to keep the promotions going is very real and makes a lot of sense to anybody who's in business that's trying to keep, I don't know, people entertained and engaged. I think that's the movie industry, so this is sort of a movie industry approach as well. So they got that part right. So I don't know. Overall, interesting. Because of the way it was presented, it was both engaging and annoying at the same time. Engaging from the fact that the effects really made it work, annoying from the fact that everybody is doing their best, acting at the loudest volume possible. So that's it for me on this round. Back to you, Brenda. KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. N5BB, Bill, you saw some of it. Give us your observations, please.
Yes, now I've seen all of it because I kind of fast forward to the second part. This is N5BB. I kind of agree with the other Bill. I like this movie, pretty much. Got to remember now, it's a 1935 movie. I think we should judge it for 1935 movies. I thought that and I'm going to have to leave, so I'm going to go on and kind of make all my comments here one time. I thought that the production values were actually very good. I thought the audio was great for a movie from 1935, and the images were also very good. The special effects were excellent, I thought, for a movie that time. It really looked like that big, long tunnel in that vehicle moving through at a high speed. I really liked the cars. Did you notice the cars? They were really neat-looking, super modernistic things. And, of course, as they all thought back then, the small airplane kind of a gyrocopter, and it kind of land like a helicopter. That was the big thing back there. So it was kind of interesting. Now, doing some research about this, this is based on the book, a German book, Der Tunnel, published in 1913 in Germany, in 1915 in English. This is in 5BB. This is an extremely popular book, one of the most popular books in the early part of the 20th century. It was a 402-page book. It's a pretty big, hefty thing. And this is made into 3 movies in 1933 and 1935. First there was a 1915 silent film. Okay, it was a silent film. And then in 1933 and 1935, there were 3 versions in German, French, and English, and I believe they used the same sets and special effects. So, essentially the same movie in 1933 and 1935. Now, let's think about what was happening in the mid-30s. Now, number one, again, the book was written in 1915, and concepts for building such a tunnel had been around for quite a while. Michael Verne, son of Jules Verne, wrote a magazine article in the 1890s about the same topic, the idea of building a transatlantic tunnel. So the idea had been around before the book was written in 1915. The interesting thing I thought about the movie that we saw was they were talking about the Channel Tunnel that we realize now was built, 7 decades later or something, the tunnel. And they mentioned one, I think, in the Bahamas. They mentioned some other ones there in the movie. And it was somewhere in the indefinite future. I don't know when this movie was supposed to have taken place, but it was obviously decades later. This is in 5BB. It's a rather idealistic movie in certain ways. I think I caught the main tunnel builder, his wife, saying something about the fact that about women being paid so much less than men. So they got that little in there, the fact that women weren't paid as much as men. And there were a few social things in there. The interesting thing I thought was about so many people dying during the building of this large project. So people, just like in war, people in these big projects not making it through. So what else was happening in the 30s? So this is in 5BB. The Hoover Dam was built, and supposedly around 100 people were died, accidentally killed in building the Hoover Dam over on the Colorado River. The final construction was 1936, but it was kind of opened up. The project was kind of dedicated in 1935, the same year this movie came out. So that was another very big project, took several years, and there were a number of people died during making of it. An interesting thing is if you look about the novel, in the novel, it took 26 years to construct it. 26 years. And the novel said that airplanes now cross the Atlantic Ocean in a few hours, so it was pretty much outdated as soon as it opened. Of course, the same thing could be said if they built a tunnel now. The airplanes can go pretty fast. When the Concorde was flying, it was really fast. But even current regular air flights are pretty fast, so it's kind of questionable. It sure looked neat, though, down in the tunnel, the special effects they had. That was huge, and it was very, very fast, and it looked pretty neat. Other things, again, I'm sorry I'm squeezing everything in, but I got to go. I got a big party tomorrow at my house. The other things about the movie, the love triangle, I think, was done in the sun. It was done reasonably well for a movie at that time. And in the 30s, they were making movies that were pretty open to this stuff that they wouldn't have talked about in the 40s and 50s. About, somebody running off with somebody else and children out of wedlock, but all that kind of stuff. But I thought all that was done pretty well. I thought the televisions were very neat. They had the remote video phones and the huge television screens. During the 30s, television they were experimenting with it. There were some public demonstrations. This is in 5BB. When my mom was in high school, she graduated in this would have been about 1940 or so. She saw a demonstration when she was still in high school. She saw, no. It's probably 42 or 43. She saw a demonstration of television at her high school in Austin. Early television, it was experimentally done. So in the 30s, they were experimenting with it. So this was the next high-tech generation of technology, communications. And they really neat seeing these big screens and the video phones. And being able to talk on the video television phone from his airplane, that was also really neat. This is in 5BB. Anyway, I don't know. I thought this was kind of a neat movie with lots of neat science fiction things in it, a lot of neat things about the future, and a lot of ideas. And so, thanks. I was glad I saw it. Again, it was a big movie that's kind of long, but that was the way big movies were at that time. Remember Metropolis? It was really long and kind of cumbersome. It went through some big topics. They made these really big movies with all kinds of big issues, and they spent plenty of time working on them.
Node 4,
Anyway,
8,
that's my fault.
0,
And I'm leaving now, so don't.
Thanks, Bill. Well, all right. Let's see. Let's move on. Last one is KB9SOK. Sean, tell us what you think of the plot.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. That was a nice movie. It's kind of an interesting one. I think we kind of got a split group a little bit. Definitely far better than last week's movie. And yeah, this is definitely getting back. We don't normally watch stuff quite this old. So I tried to watch it in the mindset of 1935, and I could see maybe the interest in it because it was definitely science fiction. The whole idea of, building this tunnel under the ocean. But, I guess there is some serious plot holes in this. Obviously, that's the first one. and then to me, the next one was, I never quite understood how this was going to create world peace. We had this connection between the United States and the UK, why that would magically solve the world's issues, and we'd be this ultimate power between the two, and exactly how would that do anything? An enemy could just simply take out the tunnel. So that part was pretty far-fetched, and then the whole volcanic section was kind of just nuts too. Even if you had gone through there and maybe it was just gas, like Virginia says, maybe you'd be okay. But once again, if you were going through part of a volcano, I'm pretty sure that ain't going to work out too well. So yeah, there's some pretty serious plot holes in this. And then, yeah, I agree with what Tom said about the age thing. I thought that was strange as well, because no one really seemed to age. It just the timing in this was weird. Even when the wife decided to become a nurse and help out, it seemed like that just happened overnight. And once again, if he ran the operation, how could they keep that secret from him? So that didn't make a lot of sense. I know they did it primarily just for drama. And yes, I agree, this was a very predictable movie. You knew the son was going to die the moment he showed up there. And then, the other problem I had with the plot was just, there at the end, the son had just died in the tunnel, and the dad goes in there, doesn't even look for him to verify that he's passed, just goes right to the machine and decides to finish the job that magically only takes 5 minutes after all these years. So there's just some weird timing issues with this movie, and some serious plot holes. I will give some credit for the time that it was made, 1935. It would have probably been interesting, to go watch in that time period, because, I don't know exactly how many sci-fi movies were made quite that early on, but I'm sure it was entertaining and fantastical. But I kind of had to laugh as soon as I was watching the first part of it, and they're trying to sell this to all the rich people, and, it just made me think of, years ago, the scam artists were trying to, sell the monorail to all the mid-sized cities, and, which I think The Simpsons made fun of in an episode. It just kind of kept on going through my head. They're trying to sell this idea, but I won't talk about the special effects and stuff. There was some interesting parts of this movie, but I think to me the biggest problem, outside of a few plot holes for me, was I just found it kind of boring. They focused so much on the love triangle and not a lot on the actual tunnel. I would have liked to seen a lot more of them, focusing on the actual construction of the tunnel and, some of the drama that happened down there, maybe into, but really 2/3 of this movie was all about the love triangle and that part of it. So for me, it did get kind of boring, for me, to be honest. It wasn't horrible, but I was getting bored with it. I was ready for it to be done at the end for sure. So, not a lot new to add to this one, but anyway, that was how I see it. Back to net, KB9SOK.
Thank you, Sean. A lot of very interesting comments tonight. This is WB50ZL, and it's time for my comments about the plot. I didn't hate the movie. Yeah, I did. The soap opera stuff is so annoying. I've never in my life watched soap operas, and it just doesn't interest me. The part about the tunnel, now that was interesting, and it would be a fascinating project, although I think it would be very unfeasible. I looked it up. It's 3,300 miles from England to New York, and you couldn't just, I don't know if you could take a train non-stop from one end to the other. I would imagine it would have to stop and refuel or get food or something. Certainly you'd have to stop. I mean, it would take you a couple of days, at least 3 days, and so you'd have to have gas stations and restaurants and restrooms and relief places and dog parks and repair shops, hotels, and they'd all have to be built underwater. So that is be a massive, massive project. It cost a huge amount of money to build. I think the maintenance on it would be horrendous. I used to go through the Baytown LaPorte Tunnel. My in-laws lived in Baytown, and there were often problems with it. Maintenance problems. If there's a wreck, you have, there's nowhere to go. It's just blocked. And you always had to watch to make sure the tunnel was open, or you'd have to go around the long way, which is not going with a 3,300-mile tunnel. So, and we think air travel, airplanes really improved a lot in the 30s. In the second half of the 30s, we had the Boeing Clippers that would have probably been more feasible than a tunnel. Although, obviously, the good thing about the tunnel is you're going to have trains carrying freight through there. And there'd just be no other way to do it. Well, I mean, you could get ships, but they would be slower. You can't have high-speed ships like you can have high-speed trains. So, you know, if they could do it, I guess it would make sense. But, boy, I just see so many problems with it. But, who knows? All right, I'm going to reset, and I'm going to call on, do we have any more check-ins? Okay, well, let's go back to KG5BZW and talk about characters. Go ahead, Jay.
For KG5BZW, I don't know what to say on this round. I don't know if I want to stick around for the. I mean, I will stick around, but I don't know if I want to say anything on the third round. I kind of said my say on the characters the last round. Yeah, I mean, grant this about the plot. Although, I mean, okay, let's say that there's something called the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which is, or I believe that's what it's called, which makes such an effort. It is kind of interesting that apparently there's I'm not entirely sure where the location is in relation to the tunnel as it was supposedly drawn on the map, but you know, that is the place of well, if it's not volcanic activity, which I'd say it kind of is, I'm kind of curious as to what the state of geology was at that particular time, because I know that the continental drift was not even really accepted until perhaps a few years later. So I'm kind of curious what if it was just a kind of an odd quinky-dink that the story had issue where there's volcanic somewhere in the Atlantic a volcano that caused issue, whereas you actually have something where continental drift we know where it actually starts spreading right there and all of that. But the other thing, like I have nothing to say for characterization. There is this ignoring. I mean, it's a tunnel thousands of miles long, and how are you going to get oxygen down there and all that? And whatever. I will say, even today, there are discussions not about strictly not a seaworthy tunnel, but a hyperloop, and using really fast trains in the subterranean tunnel. I don't know how often it's really taken seriously. You just see it in pop culture more than anything. Of course, there are certain companies. Elon Musk kicked me off, so I kind of hate to give him credit. But you know, he does have that Morgan company and such, and blah blah blah. But anyway, yeah, that's my ramble for this round. KG5BZW.
Thank you, Jay. Actually, the continental drift was a concept originated by Alfred Wegener, and he published it. I just looked it up. He published it the first time in 1912, and everybody laughed at him. He had an unfortunate early death, but he was vindicated in the 1960s when our Navy was mapping the floor of the Atlantic Ocean and discovered that in fact the plates were separating, so he, too late for him. But that was in the 60s, and I remember when continental drift was a new discovery, or a new, was beginning to be accepted. So when you think of a tunnel, could you make it earthquake-proof or leak-proof? I'm just not sure about all that. Anyway, well, I'm going too long. It's not my turn anyway. Next, Virginia, NV5F. Please go ahead.
Okay. Well, first responding to your point about the need for waypoints and services in a over 3,000-mile long tunnel. That was something I mentioned online last night. I remember once when I was a kid and we went over the Lake Pontchartrain Causeway. It is, I believe, the longest bridge over water in the world. It's like 28 miles long, and I've only been over it a couple of times, and it has to have turnarounds and things that most normal bridges wouldn't have to have. So imagine a tunnel that's 3,000 miles long, and then Jay's point about continental drift, and then of course earthquakes and leaks and volcanic gases and gases in general. I think the whole idea of a transatlantic tunnel is, even by our technological standards today, is bonkers. So now to get on to acting and characters. Some of Tom's points about the quality of the audio in this movie are right on. I think for a movie made in 1935, a lot of that was pretty good. The acting overall was of the time. You had the very, what they call the transatlantic accent, which was kind of being, that was kind of the default accent, especially in movies that featured both British and American players. You had this very strange accent that by today's standards sounds very odd. It's neither British nor American, and I think I even made a joke last night is that tunnel is just as transatlantic as all the accents in this movie. So I noticed a lot of that. You have this kind of attempt at a homogenized way of speaking for a lot of the characters. The British people didn't really sound British. They sounded sort of, and the American people, some of the American people sounded, but it was just interesting that was kind of a thing of the day, a norm of that time in movies, to have that kind of affected accent in all of the acting. The melodrama was high. It was still, movies were still kind of like very theatrical. They were like edited, they were like recorded theater in some ways. So I thought the acting overall, you know, by today's standards, the style is very different, maybe seeming a little wooden or, you know, over-exposition of things. But it was fine. It was all right. I cared about these people. I was in... and the husband were separated by this dumb, already outdated tunnel project, and Bill made the point that even in the book, the project was considered to be outdated by the time it was finished, which, I don't know, it seems like that the people who, if this had really happened and they had started building a tunnel, you know, let's say they started building it in 1935, or maybe when the book was written, maybe they started building it in, you know, 1912 or 1915 or whenever this book came out. By the time they got it done, you know, we would have already had the space program. So, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. So I really think the whole overall overarching concept is silly, but it was a way to, you know, enact this drama that, you know, about people. I thought all the financial drama, that was kind of realistic, because a project that long, you've got to keep paying for it. You've got to keep people interested in it so that investors will keep backing it. But, you know, I just thought trying to weave that into the human drama of things. And then they had the geopolitical stuff about world peace, and maybe at the time in the mid-30s, you know, the decade before World War II, you know, there were things going on that we don't think much about anymore. So, you know, the history of it might, if I were to read that history the way the other Bill was talking about, that might make the movie more relevant, and I might dig into that, because I do like history. So, anyway, acting fine, characters fine. I did care about them. I was sad when the son died. I did wonder why the guy wouldn't forget the stupid tunnel and just go be with his family. That kind of stuff doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think any of us are going to be on our deathbed going, gosh, I wish I had done bigger, cooler things, you know. So, anyway, that's it for me. MV5.
Thank you, Virginia. Next, W5BLT. Bill, go ahead.
Okay, well, a couple things, too. Thanks for doing the net tonight. Also, you know, I think we also have to remember going to the movies back then was probably a bigger deal than it is even today. We're so saturated. You know, movie theaters aren't what they used to be, and we can, I mean, I think I've got about 16 entertainment apps on my phone. I mean, you really need to delete some. But anyway, so that was a bigger deal then. And the characters, you know, we're all into science fiction, but even probably back then, I'm not sure as many people were into science fiction as they are today. And so I think this movie had to appeal to, you know, family members as well, or that girl or guy you're dating and going to the movies with. And so that's probably why they had the drama with the family. And I, you know, that was kind of different. Yeah, it would have been neat to see more of the tunnel and how all that was being done. But I did like more of the character relations that played out. You know, also back in this time, even I think radio actors tend to yell and you know, get over the static and stuff. But anyway, I liked the characters. I thought everybody did their job well. guy was obsessed with building the tunnel. I don't know if they had the term workaholic back then, but it is a common term used today. And I can remember working to support my family, and I'd go to work for 9 hours a day and have a 3 to 4 hour round trip total commute. And it was all to support them. And so, fortunately, I'm getting to work from home, but it was a lot of hours away. And so I liked the film covering that drama. And I liked the bankers and people trying to manipulate the stock, and then they were going to try to buy it lower. You kind of knew something was going to happen with Jeffrey, especially when he said he got all the dangerous stuff in school. And, it's kind of sad because I think some of the kids in the movie, they didn't get billing credit. I think the older actors did, but not the young kids. But on the page I found the characters. I thought they all did their parts well. So the concept of the tunnel is off, maybe. But, I remember reading as a kid about trying to build space elevators, and how would they get up? Would there be cables, or would there be beams of light to carry these elevators up? And, maybe we look at that and it seems so far-fetched. But then you look at the TVs they had, and now we have video phones where we can't do videos on the airplane. And sometimes maybe the whole idea of the tunnel doesn't work out, but maybe that movie inspired these other forms of technology which we enjoy today, and a lot of things out of Star Trek and stuff that
Node 4, 8, 9,
everybody's favorite
0,
2001,
2,
right?
time out.
So
Thank you, Bill. Next, KE5ICX. Tom?
Thank you, Brenda. I kind of dozed off for a minute. I even had a nap today. Well, let's see. Characterization. I guess nothing special to be said. The characters were as to be expected. I assume they follow the book closely, and the three movies that came before it, the two movies that came before it, actually three, there was a silent version of it. So, I don't know what to add about the characters. Not much, I guess. They were done in a very over-the-top, rafters-filled way, I suppose, but that was to be expected at the time, which I mentioned in the last round. So, okay with that. The Sun's Lost, not so much. Nobody seemed to really care all that much. I don't know. At the beginning they did. But I wouldn't say any of it was overly objectionable in any sort of way. We've seen plenty of films where the acting was horrendous very recently and not so recently. So I would give this one a pass simply because it wasn't too bad. If anything to be said about the film is the book, and that is that the romantic part of it, which gets faulted a lot when you look at the reviews, just went on too long. We didn't feel it, and I don't know, there wasn't anything there that would suggest that things were going, that we cared enough about those people. I didn't, but then again, they're all rich people and doing fine. So I think it lacked a little bit of humanism in it, as happens a lot with science fiction films, this one is not to be excluded from that, where the whole idea, the gimmicks and everything take precedent over anything else. So I think that's what happened there. Okay, that's it for me on that one. Sorry, I don't have a lot to say. Back to you, Brenda, KE5ICX.
Thank you, Tom. And Sean, KB9SOK. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is KB9SOK. I do think the actors for the time did do a good job with what they had. I don't got any complaints about that. The characters were, I think okay. Our main guy building the tunnel, I think he did come across as passionate, obviously, about it. And then we had our kind of our villains, the guys that were messing with the stock. I think it's all felt believable. So I think the characters were fine as far as that goes. I think the acting was fine. At the end of the day, it was just still, to me, too much focus on the soap opera side of things, and not enough on the actual, building of this tunnel. I know a lot of times we complain that movies are all action and no substance, but this one just kind of kept dwelling on this failing marriage and the love triangle, and nothing really happening with anybody in the end. We had the lady that supposedly waited for years because she wanted to marry this guy, hoping that he would divorce his wife, and it's like, really, I mean, is she really going to wait 20, 30 years and not move on? It's just, there's just parts of it to me that were just not really necessary. They focused too much time on it, and for me, it made it not as enjoyable. Had they, you maybe swapped, instead of spending 70% of the time on the drama and 30% on, the science fiction side, I would like to see it, maybe flip the other direction. And, and I do get they're trying to drive home the whole workaholics thing, and it's still, obviously things that happen today as well. But they just spent so much time on that's really what this movie was about, not so much the tunnel. The tunnel was just an excuse for him to be away, and it was more about the focus of, the guy neglecting his family. But, since we're about out of time, I will just make a quick touch on the special effects. I do think that that was one of the gloomy parts of this movie, was that I think for the time, I thought the sets were great. I think the special effects looked good for the time. Audio was fantastic. So that was the one thing that kind of kept your interest, was that part of it, actually. So, anyway, that's all I got for this week. So, yeah, KB9S, okay?
Thank you, Sean. This is WV5OZL. Do we have any additional check-ins? No, the movie tonight we're watching is the Transatlantic Tunnel of 1935. Okay, well, this is WV5OZL. I think the acting was adequate, for its day. A lot of these old movies, the actors are a little bit stilted, but they were okay. Just never heard of any of them. And, but the whole soap opera thing turned me off so much. I understand they were probably trying to reach as broad an audience as they could, and I guess they succeeded. All these people were way too attractive, and successful. This is not the only time some man has been married to his job and neglected his family. It's a common story with similar results. It breaks up families. But they dealt with that aspect of it. The tunnel, the English Channel tunnel, was built in 1994, and but it had been suggested in 1802. Somebody decided they could build a tunnel and have horse-drawn carriages and an island midway where they could change horses, and they have oil lamps inside. And so that idea has been around for a long, long time. But it's very successful now with the high-speed rails in it. But it's only 30 miles long. You know, it's a big difference. You know, if there's something going on, you could bring help pretty quickly. And, I mean, you could just leave England and go over to France to have lunch. It's doable. So, that you just, this is the kind of thing where you want to talk at the characters and say, quit doing that, you know, do something different. Alrighty, I am, do we have any more check-ins now? Okay, last call for anything that you want to talk about, special effects or anything else. Honestly, there wasn't much in the way of special effects, but anything else you want to talk about, just come with your call and we'll take you in order.
Whiskey 5, bacon, lettuce, tomato.
November, Victor 5, Foxtrot.
Kilo Echo 5, India Charlie X-ray.
Okay, W5BLT, Bill, go ahead.
Okay, a couple things. I always appreciate everybody filling in all the scenery that I've missed, like the cell phone or the video phones on the airplanes and stuff. You always all fill in gaps for me that visually, without a descriptive video or trying to go scene by scene with artificial intelligence and stuff, I miss. And so I'd love this net for that. Thank you again. The other thing I was going to comment on is with the audio. I like these older movies because the audio is clearer, and sometimes I think movies, they try to make it more realistic, but the voices getting drowned out by the sound effects are just bad. And so I like this movie for that. I also liked the banging on the tunnel and the echoing. It sounded, kind of realistic to me. And sometimes I feel maybe the visual things or explosions in a movie, we go so much for that now in today's science fiction movie, but there's just the little things like the hammering and things like that maybe get missed. So I like this movie for that. I could go on, but that was the big things I want to say. W5BLT, and thanks, Brenda. Back to you.
Okay, next we have Virginia in V5F. Go ahead, Virginia. Okay,
Well, Bill, I love your perspective, and I agree with you about sound in movies. The convention of sound in movies has gotten to the point where it's a lot like the visual effects in movies now, which I probably have to spend a day trying to describe them to you, where everything's now sort of hyper-realized to the point where if everything looked and sounded like it does in a movie, in real life your head would explode because you would just be getting way too much information. So I like that observation that sometimes less is just more. And speaking of a movie where less sound is more, you did invoke 2001. So this is my opportunity to do my weekly attempt at tying this movie into 2001. And last night when we were watching it, I couldn't help but notice the scene where the guy is on a video phone with his son, telling him happy birthday and telling him he's sorry, he's deep in a tunnel in the middle of the ocean somewhere and he can't come to his son's birthday. And I was like, well, you know, I'll be if Stanley Kubrick didn't rip this movie off for 2001. It might just be a coincidence, but Stanley Kubrick did watch a lot of science fiction and take part in a lot of science fiction, much of it recommended to him by Arthur C. Clarke when he was prepping for writing and filming 2001. The other movie that I swear he ripped something off from was one we watched recently. I think it was From the Earth to the Moon, and they were in that big crazy rocket ship with the big roomy spacious chambers, and there was one scene where they walked by a rack of spacesuits, and it had these red, yellow, and blue spacesuits hanging off of it, and I think 10 will get you 20 that Stanley Kubrick ripped that off for the pod bay, the spacesuit rack in the pod bay in 2001. So I love to look at that stuff and guess what might have been quoted in everybody's favorite science fiction film. And by the way, today, well, for the next few minutes, December 7th is the 40th anniversary of the theatrical release of 2010, The Year We Make Contact. So everybody, for the last couple minutes of the day, enjoy 2010 Day, and it's also Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day, so remember all of those that died in Pearl Harbor and how we all ended up getting into World War II. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks, Brenna, for running the net. NV5F.
All right, we have one more commenter. That'll be Tom, KE5ICX. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, thank you, Brenda. Thanks for taking the net this evening. Yes, also it's the 35th anniversary of, is it 35th anniversary? I think I did that right, from Star Trek The Motion Picture, which also came out on this same date. So keep that in mind, and the rebirth of Star Trek. A couple of things. First, as far as special effects, I thought they were quite good. I don't know what came from the earlier French and German films. I understand they kind of ripped from that. So whoever did the effects for that appeared in this film, kudos to them. I think they did a really great job. So overall, it did look good. What was I going to say? There is an article. There's a car that's listed in this film. It's called the Tetra T87. This is a real car. It was from Czechoslovakia, from the 30s, and it was done by a famous designer back then. The car is affectionately known. There are problems with it. I found an entire article on this thing called The Death Eaters Chapter 1, and the first car that they review is a Tetra T87, which they almost roll. This thing's on two wheels. This poor car, that's a classic car, very distinctive and very futuristic, which is why it was picked for this film, is going through a slalom course at an unbelievable rate. I don't know why. I would think that this is a collectible, but they kind of treated it poorly. But it talks about the design, the engine type, the rear engine, where the rear engine was placed, and some of the features on it. If you know anything about Tucker, this car has similar ideologies about it, but it also, they show it rolling. Oh my, how sad. At any rate, you might want to check it out. It's quite interesting. As I mentioned, I thought the film itself wasn't all that bad. I think it was redeemed by the special effects that were in the film. I thought they did a really, really good job with that, even though the technology just wasn't there. That's it from me, Brenda, KE5ICX.
All right, thank you. And what do we have for next week, Tom? KE5ICX.
I'm pretty sure I know. I forgot to pull it up. Give me 1 second and I'll tell you. All right, I wanted to make doubly sure because if anything would have happened, I would have picked the wrong movie. Next week's movie is the Christmas Wonder Child, the film that everybody loves to watch at Christmas time, World War Z from 2013. That's our Christmas feature. Back to you, Brenda, KE5ICX.
Well, that just sounds positively festive. Okay, this is WB5OZL. Thank you all for checking in, and we'll be ending the net now at 11:59, just in time. Good night.